All right. Yes, music fans, welcome. Harmless Dave here, waiting for my cue, talking about real music in real time for a few real people out there just like you and just like me. All right. Unfortunately, in this video, I've got some sad news, and it's a story that is tragic in two ways. And I'll get there as soon as I talk about this album, which is somewhat related to the music I'm going to be talking about. This is Eric Lovery. This is his album Twilight Dream. If you want some old school twang, sounding a little bit like Tom Petty at times, maybe a little bit like the Byrds, this is a great album, and you should go check it out. Again, Eric Lovery, Twilight Dream. Had him on the show a while ago. Just a fine old school musician, and of course, trying to keep an entire genre alive. Speaking of trying to keep music alive in a good way, of course, Modern Retro Radio, modernretrofm.com, a great online radio station playing all kinds of music that the other guys just refuse to play. And there's a good reason for that, because they're all bought off by their corporate overlords. And some of those overlords probably work in the pharmaceutical industry. Just saying. Anyway, Dwight Twilly. Do you know who Dwight Twilly is? I follow this guy. Way back in the mid-1970s, he had a fairly big hit song. And then he showed up in the 80s, singing alongside Tom Petty for a track called Girls. And he was associated with a great Phil Seymour, who had this amazing song called Precious to Me. Yeah, these are all songs that have been, forgotten about, focus tested, out of existence. In any event, Dwight Twilly just passed away. And the headline here is Power Pop Legend who was denied success dies. And this is just a sad story all the way around. So Dwight Twilly, a singer, songwriter, and guitarist whose first recordings with musical partner Phil Seymour in the mid-1970s predated the genre that would later be known as power pop, died on Wednesday, October 18th, at the age of 72. So, again, 72 years old. A lot of people think 72 is like the new 92. Anyway, Twilly, born and raised in Tulsa, Oklahoma, died there as well, with his death being confirmed by his wife, Jan. The church studio in Tulsa also confirmed his passing, and Tulsa World reported that Twilly had suffered a massive stroke while driving alone on October the 14th, and then crashed into a tree. He died while in a critical care unit. Just very sad. And not at all suspicious, right? Nothing to see here. As the Dwight Twilly Band, Twilly and Seymour created an enduring and highly memorable brand of power pop that blended Beatle-esque pop and sun rockabilly, and that proved to be a very formidable combination as far as inventing something new and different. They scored a pop hit with their very first single, I'm on Fire. Some of you may remember that song, which reached number 16 on the Hot 100 back in 1975. Pretty much any of those K-Tel type collections, Ronco collections from those days, a lot of them probably had I'm on Fire as one of the songs. And while their future indeed looked to be on fire, the pair suffered from bad luck and label mismanagement. Now, I criticize the music industry these days as not even being an industry. Back in those days, there was all kind of favoritism and sort of random success that happened to some people. And then you go back and listen to the music that came out during that time frame, and there is so much of it that went under the radar. And the question always is, how come this wasn't a hit song? Well, these guys had a hit, and they didn't have a lot of promotion at the time. Pretty much zero promotion for this song that went to number 16. So this goes back to the 1960s when Dwight Twilly met Phil Seymour at a Tulsa movie theater back in 1967, and they went to go see a re-release of the Beatles' Hard Day's Night. Inspired by the film, they went to Twilly's house to start writing and recording. The two continued the partnership over several years, calling themselves Oyster, Oister, and recruiting another part-time member, Bill Pitcock IV, on lead guitar. After developing their sound in their homemade studio, they decided to take a stab at professional recording. Though they intended to head to Nashville, they stopped first at Sun Studios in Memphis. Jerry Phillips, son of the studio's legendary owner Sam Phillips, was impressed enough to team them up with former Sun artist Ray Harris, who introduced them to the Sun sound, roughing up their Beatles-obsessed style and creating a unique and enduring sound. In 1974, again, the pair was signed to Shelter Records as the Dwight Twilly Band, co-owned by Denny Cordell and Leon Russell. Their first single, I'm on Fire, became a pop hit in 1975, peaking at number 16, with relatively no promotion. During an appearance on American Bandstand, the band previewed what was to be the follow-up single, Shark, an infectious rocker, but the song and completed album went unreleased for 18 months due to label problems, and a second album, recorded in England, was left unreleased altogether, creating a myth around the band in some circles, while the general public quickly lost interest, of course. A belated follow-up single failed due to distribution problems. Predictably, when the album Sincerely was finally released, it was ignored. Seymour and Twilly befriended their like-minded Shelter Records label mate Tom Petty and spent time in the studio while the future star was recording his self-titled debut album with the Heartbreakers. Seymour is credited as contributing background vocals on the classic tracks American Girl and Breakdown. That's pretty amazing. That's Phil Seymour helping out with background vocals on those two classic tracks. Twilly is listed as singing on the album track Strangered in the Night. Petty repaid the favor for their second album, Twilly Don't Mind, for Arista Records in 1977. Seymour left the band the following year to pursue a solo career, reaching number 22 on the Hot 100 in 1981 with the song Precious to Me. That is such a great song. Go find that song and listen to it. Was always on a compilation CD because I just never got enough of that song. Quick little 3-minute pop song, and it's just infectious. By the way, Phil Seymour passed away of lymphoma in 1993 at the age of just 41 years old. Anyway, Twilly carried on as a solo act, releasing Twilly for Arista in 1979 and Scuba Divers for EMI in 1982, and found success again with Jungle in 1984 when he scored his first hit in nearly a decade with the song Girls. And that, of course, features Tom Petty as well. The same year, Twilly was invited back to Bandstand by Dick Clark, who asked the musician about the circumstances from the past 9 years. In 1993, Dwight Twilly released the Great Lost Twilly album, which collected a fraction of the hundreds of unreleased songs Twilly and Seymour recorded in their early ill-fated days. His other releases include an album of Beatles covers titled simply The Beatles, and followed it with an album of originals in 2010. His final album was 2014's Always. By coincidence, a new compilation is celebrating power pop with tunes from such leading acts of the genre as the Raspberries, Todd Rundgren, Cheap Trick, Andrew Gold, The Cars, The Knack, and dozens more. Looking for the Magic, American Pop in the 70s is coming out on November 17th from Cherry Red Records with 76 tracks across its 3 CDs. The album is named for Dwight Twilly's song. So apparently there was a song, Looking for the Magic, and pretty interesting stuff. Just tragic on 2 levels. Quickly to wrap this up, because I know I was talking a lot there. The tragedy of the passing at age 72 from a heart attack, you crash into a tree, or stroke, and then he dies a few days later. The breaks that he should have gotten, the record label, who obviously dropped the ball. I don't know. I mean, it's hard to understand why certain artists in that time frame did so well or did so poorly. Dwight Twilly was fantastic, and his sidekick, Phil Seymour, also had this ability to write really concise, catchy songs, listenable songs, the kinds of songs that really have, for the most part, vanished from all of music today. So again, if you're a fan of this kind of music, you should go check out anything by Dwight Twilly. There are many influences in his music, but the fact that Tom Petty used to hang out with him is fairly illustrative of just how talented he was. So in any event, again, another tragic loss to the world of music, and best thing you can do if you haven't heard Dwight Twilly is to go check him out. Also, if you have a chance, please check out this guy too, Eric Lovery, Twilight Dream. This carries on that tradition. Lots of twanging going on here. If you like your guitars twangy and your music organic and analog, Eric is the guy. And really a perfect album to showcase for this particular video about the great Dwight Twilly and the also great Phil Seymour. One of the first songs I ever played on college radio was Precious to Me. And when I played that, I thought it was so liberating because it was such a great song, and it wasn't on the other radio stations, although I know here and there, you know, the song was probably on a top 40 station briefly. But man, such a great song, and go listen to that too. Precious to Me by Phil Seymour, and pretty much anything by Dwight Twilly. And I think your day will be brighter. It'll be sunnier, because this is the kind of music that brightens your day. All right, I hope I was able to brighten your day with this video. Wasn't my most fluent video, but I wanted to pay tribute to Dwight Twilly. And, you know, folks, I would still say stay away from CVS. All right, just don't go to CVS. I don't know what's going on out there. Yeah, this happens to people driving down the highway, but man, 72 years old and so much talent, and not here anymore. So anyway, thanks for watching. God bless you all, and see you soon.